Good evening everyone, how are we doing tonight? I hope you're all well. First of all, let's make sure that the camera works. That's the one. I hope you're all absolutely awesome. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're just having an epic Wednesday. And fundamentally, I hope the crack is absolutely mighty. Now, I am very excited about tonight's show. I'm very excited for a number of reasons. But the fundamental message I want to convey to you this evening is this. There is no point having fear over the blank canvas moment. It's a big deal for some people. It's a big deal in life. You know, you see the blank canvas, you see the blank piece of paper, you're trying to think, well, I'm looking at this thing, and then how can I visualize this on a finished level? How can I paint this thing that I have in my mind? How can I draw this thing that I have in my mind? What I want to try and show to you this evening is the blank canvas is scary, the blank piece of paper, it's scary, it's difficult to think, what if I make a mistake, you know, what if it doesn't work? But fundamentally, what I want to show is that you can get over that fear, and that the purpose, fear, what's the point of fear? Fear is nothing, fear is in here, get rid of it. Now, when it comes to art, there are so many spiritual qualities that you can develop through painting. Courage, faith, trust, trusting in the process, trusting that it will be okay. Sometimes I make a painting, I haven't got the foggiest how it's going to turn out. I trust in the process. And sometimes in life, it's the same. Imagine if our life was like a blank canvas. Obviously, you know, you don't want to be super tentative to not make a mark. You've got to go for it, you've got to try, and you've got to do your best. Now, what am I going to paint this evening? Well, I am very excited about this painting this evening, because what I'm trying to paint, what I want to paint, is basically a lake, and next to the lake with some mountains and some trees and lots of light and a really gorgeous looking thing. That's what I want to paint, a gorgeous looking landscape scene. It's going to be in oils, it's going to be on this canvas, and I've got all my materials here. So, before I start again, please just join. The fundamental message I'm trying to convey and I'm trying to demonstrate is this idea that there is no point having fear over a blank canvas. You've got to go for it, you've got to try, you've got to trust that the process will work. And there are so many spiritual qualities that you can gain in art by trusting the process. You know, trusting in yourself, trusting in the process, going for it. It's all worth it at the end of the day. Now, as always, the first step when we come to painting, the best way to break that ice, to break that barrier down, to think, how on earth am I going to get this painting done? How on earth am I going to make this thing that I'm going to make? What I've been teaching a lot in the workshops I've been doing in Ireland and in different communities across the world and wherever I've been, is you've got to get the page wet. You just go for it. You get the brush, you get the paint down. The thing is, you get the whole thing wet. Now, white spirit is what you need to use for oil, so that's our first step. So fortunately, we've got some white spirit here. So what we're going to do, this is the white spirit here. What we're going to do is we're just going to get the whole page, the whole thing wet. That's our first step. Don't even worry about the colours, just get it wet. That's our first step. It can be any way, shape or form. It can be that you get the whole thing wet with one colour, no colour, just clear white spirit. I've actually gone for some darker tones because what I want to try and do is first of all do the dark tones and then build it up. So our first step is we're going to drag the white spirit across the painting. Drag the white spirit across the painting. For everyone watching, I hope that you are doing well. I hope that you're enjoying your Wednesday. I like Wednesdays. I think Wednesdays are good. We should all enjoy Wednesdays. Now, this is the first step. The first step to any painting, to breaking down, is just go for it. Boom! Get some white on there, get some colour on there. It doesn't matter how you do it, you've just got to get some thin layers of white spirit onto that painting. Now, this is my first step. Now, obviously, this is definitely not what the painting is going to look like. Of course not. But that's not the point. The point is, you want to go from a space of, oh my God, white canvas, I don't know what to do, to a position of, I've got something here. And all you need to do is just get the white spirit on, get it on there quick, boom, and then go for it. And then what happens is, you break them all down and you start to feel that confidence settling in. Now, once the confidence settles in, you can think, oh, I've broken that mold down. I can go for this. It's like, for example, if you want to go for a run and you feel a bit tentative and you just go for it. And you're in the swing and you go in there and you start sweating and you feel like you're in your flow. Same thing with painting. Just go for it. Now, we're painting a lake. Now, the one thing that I want to try and do, and mountains. I got a picture of the USA. I think it's in Wyoming or somewhere like this. So it could even be in Utah. I can't remember where the picture is. But basically, it's mountains coming down like a valley into a pool of water. And I'm very excited to get started. Now, the first step, the very, very first step, is we're going to paint our mountains. Now, what we need to do when we're painting these mountains is a nice loose oil paint, and just draw the mountains first. As in like an outline, you know? So that's it. That's just the outline right there. Nothing major, nothing big, nothing too adventurous. Just draw that outline, and then in the distance you're going to get some more. Now, here we draw the parameters of the lake. This is where we realise that drawing and painting have such a synergy. They're so linked together. You know, if you can't draw, you can't paint. If you can't paint, you can't draw. End of story. You know, the more you draw as well, the less fear you'll have when you come to painting, because your hands are active and you feel ready to just go boom and just get it all started. Now, in the foreground, we're going to draw some trees. Now, you'll notice all this is looking like at the moment is a bunch of lines, but this is going to build up to some nice, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pine trees. So this is just an initial stage. When it comes to blank canvas and you're thinking, how on earth is this going to work? What am I going to paint? How am I going to do it? What is the process? How is this going to work? Break it down into little steps. I like the analogy, for example, of you know, if you've got some vision that you have in the future, or you've got something that you... I got some Will Smith, actually. You know, the actor, Will Smith. He said something really interesting. He said, when it comes to a vision that you have, and you're thinking, where is this going? What am I doing? Don't look at it as like a finished product. For example, if you're going to build a house, don't look at the house. Think about the bricks that you lay. And then you lay a brick, one brick at a time. And then you lay another brick. And then you lay another brick. And then you lay another brick. And then you lay... And eventually, let's say for a period of 55 days, you've got 55 bricks. That's a good part of a house. It's constant effort. So when it comes to painting, when it comes to art, when it comes to any practice that you have, by definition of the word practice, you've got to practice. So the biggest way to get rid of that blank canvas moment is you persist. You don't give up and you keep going and going and going and going and striving, and you push through it. And what you realise is that actually the blank canvas moment is just a lack of practice. So once you get into the swing of it, make mistakes, treasure those mistakes, go for it forward. Now, on this blank canvas, what we've done is we've just laid out the initial first few steps. And now I've done the first few steps, we're going to go forwards. So, what we're going to do first is we're going to paint these pine trees. Now, I love pine trees. I think they're delicious. I think if I was to eat any tree, obviously other than an apple tree, because I am absolutely mad for apples. I love apples. I love pine trees. I think they're so vibrant and not in colour, but in texture. They're just so rich. They're great. Now that's what I want to try and demonstrate for you this evening. Is I want to get some of these pine trees done. And you know, the beauty of oil paint, right? The beauty of oil paint is I'll paint this, it's not going to be drying for literally at least a week. So I can keep going to it. I can keep adding to it. Adding more and more and more. Now, this is the impressionistic type, this is where the impressionists work. This is the impressionist paint type. So you dab and dab and dab again. And you keep dabbing. And what you realise is when you add all these dabs together, yeah? Look up close to that. You see how it's becoming a tree slowly. Now what I'm doing here, this is just the initial stage. This is just the first stage. Don't worry about the long-term vision. Just focus on step-by-step methods, step-by-step progress. It's the same. What I've come to realise is that there are so many similarities between art and life and science, everything. It's core universal principles, and I feel that the more we're conscious of these principles, the more we're conscious of how these forces interact and operate in our life, we can actually become better at everything that we do. So for example, I'm a teacher, right? And it would have been stupid, for example, if I was to walk into the classroom on the first day and expect that everything was going to be absolutely awesome. Of course not. You know, I've been working at a new school with some new children now for a good few months, and it's taken weeks to develop the right rapport. It's taken weeks to develop the right kinds of... Today, for example, I did a year 9 football, and it was one year 9 French class against another year 9 French class. I was on the team that won, fortunately, scored the first goal, and scored the last goal, scored the winning goal on the first goal, so always that score sheet, of course. And what I thought was beautiful is that these were with kids who find French difficult, and you know, these boys, and instead of casting these boys off, I was like, I want to get to know these students a bit more. I want to get to know what's their process, what makes them tick, who are they as people. And I realised, I was like, by getting to know these kids by playing football, every Wednesday now, we're sticking to this. They like me, and I like them, and we like each other, and we want to be together, because that's what the teaching is. You're getting into someone's soul. You're not looking at them as just some sort of target, or you're not looking at them as some sort of you're not looking at them as some sort of statistic. You're looking at them as a soul with potential. Now, how on earth does this relate to art? Of course it does. You're not looking at the blank canvas as just something to paint and get some dollar. Of course, I love it if I can sell a few paintings, but the purpose is to create something that speaks to someone, and the process should also speak to people. Now, ultimately, what am I painting right here now? Well, at the moment, what I'm trying to do, this is a technique called feathering. Now, feathering is, it's literally like you're just brushing onto that canvas with a real rapid speed, and it creates a bit of friction and a feathery texture, and that's what it's all about. Now, I'm going to let this bit dry for now. These are the trees at the front. They're not finished. This is not a finished product. This is a work in progress. This is a work in progress. We're getting there. This is a work in progress. But the good thing is that it keeps developing. It keeps developing, and it keeps developing. Now, we've done our trees in the foreground to a certain extent. By no means are they finished, but we're going to crack on and we're going to keep going with it. Now, once we've got a tree sorted out here at the bottom, the next thing is the sky. Now, the sky is going to be a luscious yellow. It's not going to be some, mediocre yellow. I'm talking outrageous yellow. I'm talking energetic yellow. I'm talking enthusiastic yellow. The kind of yellow that wakes you up in the morning and think, I want that yellow for breakfast. That's the sort of yellow we're talking about. You can tell maybe that I like yellow. Now, the yellow, what we're going to do is we're going to do zonal painting. So this is an interesting technique. So basically I go a bit intense now with the yellow, stretch it across. Stretch that yellow across with intense speed. Boom, 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 boom. You've got that yellow going on. And then what happens is, after you've got that intense yellow on in the first stage, then you add onto it. And what you do is you feather and you feather and you feather and you feather and you feather, and you interlock, and the brush marks weave together, and it becomes a radiant, acquiescent burst of yellow. You see, that's what we're after here. We're not after mediocrity. We're after boom. This is what it's all about, and this is what painting's all about too. You see, sometimes I realise that when it comes to things like, how can I put this? When it comes to things like, well, let's say for example, how do you spend your day? I realise that the way that towns are structured, the way that things are structured, it can feel a bit bland. We should go boom. We should make our cities, our towns, everything vibrant, and I think that's my motivation with the painting, really, is, I see the world around me, I think, I'd love it if it was just that tad more colourful. Maybe it's because I live with England I don't know, maybe that's the motivation. Who knows? But that is a constant drive, is to make things as colourful as they possibly can be. Now, obviously, interesting point here, when it comes to colour, let's say for example you're putting red right at the bottom of the horizon line, and then the red is going to go into yellow. Obviously, that's going to be a gradation of orange. You see, that's what it's all about here. It's about this luscious red, and it transcends up to yellow through a beautiful orange. It's crisp, it's gorgeous, it's dynamic, it's thoughtful, it's beautiful, and that's what you should try to do. Now, the painter who exploded with this sort of idea, and the painter who, when you see his paintings, they they explode. I mean, if I could have met the man, it would have been an absolute blessing. Obviously, I'm not a time traveller, so I don't have that capacity, but I would love to. Is William Turner. Now, what was good about William Turner is the fact that he couldn't draw people. He couldn't. The fact that he couldn't do it. Now, it wasn't a great. He didn't have the aptitude for it, and he lived at a time where stately homes, stately art, people of nobility, they were the sort of subjects that were being painted. And he said, to hell with that, I'm painting the sky. And in doing so, he was a real advocate for a new wave of inspiration called Romanticism. And that's the sort of style and kind of painting that ultimately that I'm interested in. And that's what I love to do. Now, this is the lake here. You see where the orange is? That's going to be the lake. So what I'm doing now is you see where the trees are? Yeah. You see that. You see that. You see that. You see that? That's where the lake is. So, where are we? What are we talking about? Where were we? Well, at the start of the show we were talking about this idea that, when it comes to the blank canvas, for a lot of people, either in the arts or people who are wanting to think about making art, or people who previously maybe tried a bit of art and then now they have all these reservations about it. It all seems to boil down to one key thing, which does my head in sometimes. Now, a lot of people say, I can't draw, or I can't paint, or I'm not creative, or I can't do that. But one question I have, what is that based off? What's that based off? If someone says, I can't do something, what's that based off? What's that based on? Is that because someone told them they couldn't do it? Or is it that they physically can't do it? Now, if a man loses his hands and his feet, I get that. It's difficult to paint. He can always use his mouth. But fundamentally, there is nothing stopping someone from making art. There is nothing stopping someone. It's all in the mind. There was an interesting book that I read recently by a lady called Carol Dweck. And the book is called Mindset. That's the name of the book. And it talks about the distinction between what you could call a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And so I was reading this and I was thinking, okay, so what does this mean? What's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset? Now, it's actually more simple than you might think. A fixed mindset says, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I don't change. This is me, this is it, right? This is, I can do this, but I can't do that. I can do this and I can't do that. This is me and I'll never change. Now, there are some elements of that which is very positive. For example, certain values you might hold, like the value of, love, or the value of beauty, or the value of helping others, spiritual values, religious values, fundamental values to human life. I mean, please, never lose those. But I'm talking about this idea of how we perceive human capacity, and how, for example, a fixed mindset would say, well, this kind of person, this kind of demographic of people will never be able to achieve these things, right? For example, even when it goes down to things like racism, fixed mindsets about race, fixed mindsets about this, prejudice, all these kind of things. But what's funny though is that when people say things like, I can't paint, or when people say things like, I can't draw, what you realise is they've been told by someone that they can't do something. And instead of having the courage to face themselves and say, have I really properly tried this out? Is there any way in which I can base what I'm saying off anything in actual practice? Or am I just settling for that? Because, when I was a boy, I used to hate the idea of speaking to people. The idea of phoning somebody up. Interesting to say, it scared me to my core. The idea of phoning somebody, the idea of going to a shop and speaking to someone by myself, like the idea of singing in front of public. And, I maybe presented myself as being a shy person. What's interesting though, is that it wasn't until basically by being forced to sing in front of a group of people that I was able to overcome that fear. And what I'm interested in I overcame that fear because I had to sing a song by Kaiser Chiefs. Ruby, 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 Ruby. That one. That one. It wasn't until I basically was forced into a situation to use my imagination and to act and think out loud and all these things, that I realised I can do this. But what I'm asking you is, if, say, for example, someone has told you that you're not creative, if someone said to you, oh, you're not good at maths, or oh, you're left brain, or oh, no, you're definitely right brain, and then you cling to that, well, that's what this lady, Carol, is saying is a fixed mindset. Because what she's saying is, well, a fixed mindset is like allowing yourself to believe what your subconscious tells you consistently and never actually challenge yourself to think, well, could something change? So, what on earth has this got to do with the painting tonight? Well, one thing I was trying to address was the fact that I do bump into quite a few people every now and again who do believe that they either are or are not creative, or that they can and that they cannot do something. Now, I am by no means I'm developing as a painter. I'm developing. I mean, there's no such thing as a good painter and a bad painter. It doesn't exist. We're all developing, right? But the question is, what are the forces operating in your life that tell you that you either can or that you cannot do something? Now, when you reflect on those questions, maybe give something a try. What's the harm in trying? You never know. And ultimately, it boils down to enjoyment. If you don't enjoy something, then equally, then that's perfectly cool. But when it comes down to something that you feel you might be able to develop a skill in, but you keep doubting yourself, well, change your mindset, change the way you think about it. That's the essence. There's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. I find all this stuff fascinating because, for example, in my lessons at school, you'll get children and they'll say, oh, I can't do it. And then I say, well, why can't you do it? Why? What's the reason why you say why? What's the reason why you say I can't? I'm fascinated by this topic about why people say they can't do something. It's really interesting right now. By no means finished, but we're getting there. The trees are done. The mountain is almost done. The bit at the top here, we're going to paint in red because basically we want to give this impression that the light, the late evening orange light is just caressing these mountains, just caressing them with a delicate touch. Oh, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's what it's all about. So, a gentle touch. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And ultimately, when it comes to painting and when it comes to art and when it comes to making, I think I might have said it at the beginning of the video. I mean, the most important thing is practice. But it's not just practicing for practicing's sake. It's how do you practice? How? This is a question which also made me think, how? You see, there's a difference between practicing what you can already do and developing on new skills, but also doing what scares you. Jump into your fears, go for it. These sort of things. And it's actually really quite beneficial. It's very beneficial indeed. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a back seat for the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to just tighten up certain aspects of this painting, and you can enjoy. Right. Tissue time, boys. Tissue time. Now, the one colour which we really need to exploit in this painting is white. You see, basically painting can be boiled down to two fundamental things. Two things that are battling against each other constantly. And if you can grasp these two things with your soul and go for it, it's basically this. It's a constant battle between light and dark. Light and dark. You see, that's the point. When you're making a painting, you're focusing on the dark element of the painting, the dark lines, and then the light lines. And that's what it's all about. It's about contrast. It's about contrast. And the real question is, how? How? how do you create those contrasts? You see, how? It's a really interesting question. I think it's a balance, really, isn't it? It's a balance between it's a balance between mixing colours, using pure colours, but ultimately just going for it. And that's where the drawing comes in. Drawing and being confident with your mark making. Confidence is key, not arrogance. There's a very, very distinctive difference between confidence and arrogance. Arrogance is saying, I'm the best painter that's ever lived, I'm the best painter that'll ever be. That's arrogance, right? But the difference between arrogance and confidence is saying, the confident painter says, I might make mistakes here. This might not go well. This could turn out an absolute disaster, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because the reality is, if you're not devoted and committed to the idea of learning, you're basically never going to progress. And that's the reality, I think. That's the reality. The best painter is the painter who is constantly searching for ways to develop and for ways to grow. That's the best painter. Because and that also, isn't that an attitude we can embrace in our lives? Instead of being lost in our fears and yielding to our fears and allowing them to take control, ride them with joy and say, man, this thing is stressing me out, but I'm going to beat this thing. Something like that, you know? It's like, oftentimes a painting might stress me out. I'm thinking, oh, why isn't this working? And this isn't working the way that I wanted it to. Well, maybe you need to shift your consciousness slightly and think, well, maybe I can adapt and maybe I can think differently. And that's what it's all about, boys and girls. And that's how you overcome the fear of the white canvas. I think I've tried my best to answer this question of how do you overcome the fear of the white canvas. What I'm doing now, by the way, is I'm smoothing it out. I'm just smoothing it out. This is by no means a finished piece. Please, 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 don't think this is a finished piece. This is by no means a finished piece. It's a piece that's ongoing. It's ongoing. It's developing, and it's growing. It's growing. The piece is growing. But what I like about it is this rich yellow at the bottom. I think there's definitely something interesting about. There's definitely something interesting about that yellow, isn't there? I think that the yellow is pretty. Hi, Mum. There's definitely something interesting about that yellow. It's definitely powerful. It's definitely thought. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Right. We need to get some white in there. White. 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 Now, one of the most important things, just as a technical piece of advice, you see, we've gone through all the motivational stuff, we've gone through all of the spiritual stuff, we've gone through all of that, but fundamentally, painting is also a question of technique, and how do you refine those techniques? And what's interesting is that the best way to learn any technique is to make mistakes. In fact, that's the only way. It's the only way. How else can you do it? It's the only way. God in his wisdom, man, he's given us a tool of unparalleled power. You see, you make a mistake, you learn from it. And then you realise, oh, don't use that technique. Oh, definitely do use that technique. That technique worked greatly. But sometimes I feel that we're so obsessed with perfection as a society, or even in the arts, I don't know, that we fail sometimes to see the value of making mistakes, as though it's the worst crime that's ever been committed. Definitely not. Obviously there are some mistakes that are crimes. Don't to mention those, but when it comes to things like trying to learn a new skill, or learning, or striving for excellence, or pushing to that next level, yeah, making mistakes is what it's all about. But it's about your goals, isn't it? It's about staying true to your principles, staying true to your word, going for something, not giving up. The French Year 9 football match that we had today at school, my two Year 9 French classes, we had a football match here. I was playing on one of the French classes teams, and then there was another class. They took it so unbelievably seriously. They were honestly, it was outrageous. It was outrageous. It was just so good. It was so good. It was so good because deep down, I think teachers want to get on with their pupils, and I want to get on with my pupils, but you can only get on with your pupils if you're willing to actually spend some time with them. It's tough, but it's totally worth it. Now, I think we're about 3/4 of the way there. This painting might actually evolve in stages. What I'm doing, by the way, here, this is by no means the finished piece. This is the first stage. So I'll do the first stage, and then after doing the first stage of the painting, then I shall finish it, and I shall then post it on Facebook afterwards. My purpose of the show is to just document the process, go through some critical questions, and equally, to engage with all of you amazing people. Right, that's the crux of the painting done as an outline. We've outlined it. Now, what have we learned tonight? What are the fundamental things to take away from the show for you to think about? Basically, at the end of the day, there's only 3 things that are important. Not only in painting, but in life. But when it comes to painting, you can apply the 2. The first one, confidence. Believe that you can do something. Believe that you can do it. Just go. Like, the white canvas is there, I know. It's scary, you might make a mistake, but so what? Go for it. First step. The second step is research. Get some knowledge. Ask questions. Go out there. Learn from others. Think, like, how can I learn this skill? How can I develop myself? So, how can I take this bit of knowledge and take it to the next level? So the first step is going for it. The second step is research. And the next step is you've got to commit to it. You've got to keep going. Get some rituals. Schedule some time in. If you're thinking, I'd really like to develop this skill in painting or drawing or singing or even exercise or whatever it could be, don't stop at like once a month. Don't stop at whenever you feel. Schedule some time in, and you'll feel so positive about the fact that you decided to keep going. Now, that's enough of me rabbiting on. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. I hope you've taken some things away. I'm honoured to do the show, and I love to share any learning that I might have developed along the way. I'm honoured to speak in front of you all. I'm honoured, and it's a real pleasure. And I really hope that along the way that the space for more painting live shows can go on in actual spaces rather than just on the social media. But we're also going to do social media. And fundamentally, I hope that you are doing well. I hope that you're happy. I hope that you're feeling good, and I send lots of love, kindness and joy, and hope if you do want to make a painting, if there's any part of your soul thinks, painting, good, give that a try, follow my 3 principles, go for it, keep in touch, and next Wednesday we're going to do the show again. So keep in touch, take care, and we'll see you soon. Okay, bye guys.